What's up guys, AJ here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how to get over your fear of cold calling, prospecting, lead generating, whatever you want to call it. In this video, you're going to get over your fear, so let's go. In the first part of this video, I'm going to talk about how to get over that fear. In the second part of it, I'm going to give you specific strategies to help you with that. So the first thing, you need to know your why, and you've probably heard this before, but you probably haven't heard it quite like this. I'm going to ask you to know your why right now. And what I mean by that is, why do you need to cold call? Why do you need to prospect right now, specifically? Not you want to get that lake house, that oceanfront home, that Lamborghini, you want to fly private, whatever it might be, that big, hairy goal, right? That giant goal, like that's 5, 10, 15 years out, that someday goal. It's great to have that, and I highly recommend that you have it. I have it as well. I have those far someday goals. But you need to know your why right now. I'll give you an example. So when I first started prospecting, my why right now was simply to be able to pay my rent, to pay for my car payments, to have shoes, dress shoes, that literally didn't have a hole in it. That was my why right now. So think about it. Like, what is it for you? Do you need to put your kids through college, put your kids through private school, get a car for your 16-year-old? Maybe it's just you need to pay your rent, you need to pay your mortgage, maybe you need to pay for taxes from a couple years ago. So you really need to connect the dots to why you're cold calling, why you're prospecting right now. Because if you're watching this video, you're probably not making the calls you know you need to be making. If you were making those calls, you wouldn't be watching this video. But I'm glad you're here either way. So I hope you are taking notes on this video and you wrote down that you need to figure out what is your why right now. But I want you to take it to the next level, and once you figure out what that is, write it down and put it in your workstation. Put it up next to your computer monitor. Put it up on the mirror in your bathroom, so every day you're looking at it. Write down a paragraph and make it emotional. Make it so that your heart connects to why you're doing it, and read that before your prospecting session. What I'm trying to accomplish with you is that you're really making a heart connection versus just a head connection to your prospecting, because that's what's going to pull you past the fear. And then also, of course, have a vision board, have a dream board. Put that up on your wall. Review it before you start making your calls. While you're making your calls, have it up on the wall so you can be looking at it while you're making the calls. So you got your why right now, and you got that big vision. You got your 1-year goals, your 3-year goals, your 5-year goals, and your someday goals all mixed in on that vision board up on the wall. And that should be able to pull you through your fear. Because if you're just showing up, making the calls, and you don't know why you're doing it, of course you're going to be afraid. Of course that first person that hangs up on you is going to, deter you from finishing your 2 or 3 hour prospecting session. You're just going to quit. You're just going to stop because you have no big reason why. You might as well just go back to your old job. You might as well go back to working for corporate America, go back to working as a police officer, a teacher, whatever it is, drive an Uber. You might as well just go back to that because this is too hard. And when you don't have a compelling future, you're not going to take consistent steps in the right direction so that that compelling future comes true. I want you to think about this too. Every no that you get, it gets you closer to a yes. But really think about that. Every no gets you closer to a yes. And when you really start to think about that as part of the process, like, you cannot be setting listing appointments, buyer appointments, without getting no's, and that's just part of the process, and you truly marry the process, divorce the result. You don't care if you get a no or a yes because you know that the no's get you closer to the yeses. That's when it starts to click, and you just know, okay, got a no, that's all right, got a no, that's all right. Because no's are usually not right nows unless they say F you, hang up on you. Then don't call them back. There's no need to waste good energy going after bad energy. The not right nows typically are like, no, I'm just not interested, and they're polite. You want to keep following up with those people, and I talked about that in other videos. But basically, you want to connect to what a no really is. And what's cool, I learned this from one of my first real estate coaches about 8-9 years ago. They taught me to actually calculate the true value of a no. The way you can do this is, let's say your average commission check is $10,000. That's probably high for most markets, but let's just say $10,000. And let's say that you had to get 100 no's in order to list one house that sells, and you get paid $10,000. $10,000 divided by 100 no's is what? 100 bucks. So your average value of a contact would be about $100. Mine, if I remember correctly, was actually about $70, $80 per no. So if I had the rudest person, they hung up on me, they called me a name, and that doesn't happen that often, but it does sometimes. If you've been prospecting long enough, you know it does. But I would know that even that hang up, even that harshest rejection was still worth $80 in my bank account. Of course I'm gonna make that next call because I just got $80 from that no. It's a no-brainer when you think of it like that. You keep making those calls because you know the value of a no. Serious guys, what's the worst that can happen when prospecting? Like, what are you truly afraid of? I want you to think about this thought. Are you going to let your fear of cold calling stop you from your dreams? Are you going to let that fear take priority over providing your dream life for your family, for your kids? That's truly what you're choosing every single day when you're saying, no, I'm not going to prospect because I'm afraid. You're saying that being safe, that protecting your ego is more important than what you told your family you're going to provide for them. Sorry, Jimmy, that trip to Disneyland's out this year because I was too afraid that a seller was going to tell me no on the phone. Hey, sorry, honey, you know that big dream vacation we were going to take to Italy? That's off the table. I was too afraid to have a seller that can't even see me. It's just over the phone. They're never going to think of me after that quick phone call. I let that stop me from achieving that dream vacation to Italy. That's really what you're doing when you're choosing not to make the calls and letting that fear grip you. You're saying no to your dream life and saying yes to the fear. You got to stop that. I mean, serious, that's the worst that can happen. The worst that can happen is they yell at you, they swear at you, and hang up. And quite honestly, I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of cold calls, and probably a handful actually called me a name or swore at me. And that's the worst that can happen, guys. That's the worst that can happen. You're not gonna die like someone might call you a name. And I'm sure if you've been living on this planet for any amount of time, I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80 years old. Like, people have called you names. People have said hurtful things to you in the past, but you're still here, you're still living, you're still pursuing your dreams. So I just want you to think, what's the worst that can happen? Write it down. Someone calls you a name. What's the best that can happen? You can achieve your dream life. All right, so now we're going to get into some actual strategies around this. I think starting is the hardest part, and you might agree with me. It's just like going to the gym. Driving to the gym, walking through the gym doors, getting started on the treadmill to warm up or whatever. Like, driving there, it's just like, that's the hardest part. I mean, putting your workout clothes on even before you get in the car is probably the hardest part. It's like, oh, I don't want to go work out. But then you're there, and you're like, oh, well, I'm already here, so I'm going to work out. Then you're 10 minutes into your workout, you're warmed up, you're moving your body, you're like, this actually feels good. You're getting motivated, you're feeling good about yourself, you're taking action, you're starting to feel results, you're sweating, your heart rate's up, and good, these endorphins are pumping through your body, and you're like, man, this is great. Why would I not want to work out? This is amazing. I've been there a lot, trust me, where I don't want to go to the gym, but I'm always glad that I get to work out in. It's the same thing with calling. So many times I don't want to make the calls, but I showed up and I started. And what's cool about this, guys, I give you permission, not that you need my permission, but I give you permission to, if you start calling after 10 minutes, if you don't want to do it anymore, just stop. Just stop and say, hey, you know what? I tried it 10 minutes. This is too scary. This is too, dangerous for my ego. I'm just going to stop and I'm going to try tomorrow. But if you stop after 10 minutes, just promise yourself, more importantly, that you're going to come back and you're going to do it the next morning. So there's one tip. Just start knowing that within 10 minutes, if you don't want to keep going, you can stop. Tip number 2, use a power dialer. This is an automatic dialing system like RedX. There's a link in the description for a discount. You save like $150 or whatever. What I like about this is kind of like a roller coaster. So, you're on a roller coaster. I love roller coasters. You strap in, you're, click, 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 you're going up, and then you're about to go down, that big steep drop, and you might not want to. At that point, you're like, oh, why am I even on this thing? You feel that exhilaration. It's scary, it's exciting all at the same time, and then whoosh, and you're going on the roller coaster, you're flipping upside down, you're doing all this cool stuff, but one thing that's similar to a dialer system is it's hard to get off. Honestly, a roller coaster is probably impossible to get off, but with the dialer system, once it's going, you're kind of strapped in. If one person says something negative or hangs up on you, it's automatically calling the next people. So that's pretty cool. So it's like you strap in, you just go. If you're hand dialing, cold calling, that's miserable. Quite honestly, if I only hand dialed early on in my career, I don't know if I would have continued. I probably would have quit. But with the dialer, especially when you're using a 3-line dialer, it calls 3 people at a time. So you're constantly on the phone with the next person, which is really cool versus just talking to like 1 or 2 people an hour. Like if someone hangs up on you and says something rude and you got to call that next person, you're sitting there hand dialing and you got a chance to think about it, that's going to make it much more difficult to make that next call versus if you have a system that's automatically dialing the next person and within say 10, 30 seconds, you're on the phone with the next person. Then you have a good call and you're like, wow, that's really cool. They actually just said to call me back in a week or whatever. Then you just keep going from call to call to call. Tip number 3, take mindset breaks. In a 3-hour prospecting session, I would call for 50 minutes. I would take a 10-minute mindset break, grab some water, grab a snack, watch a positive YouTube video, something that's going to inspire me, motivate me, and then I would get back to calling for 50 minutes and take a 10-minute break. So in a 3-hour session, I would have 2 20-minute or 2 10-minute breaks, so 20 minutes of mindset breaks. And when you're calling, make sure that your phone's not in the room, especially with a dialer. You don't need your phone. You can just log into the system, put your phone in a different room. Don't be checking Facebook. Don't be checking your email. All that's going to distract you. So make sure that you're protecting your mindset, and mindset breaks, there's no better way to do it. Stick to the same schedule. Now, this is very important. If you don't decide just once when you're going to make the calls, what days, what times, and you're always thinking, well, maybe I'll do it today, maybe I won't, you're really going to struggle. So I challenge you to just set your schedule, time block it in. Mine was every day from 8 to 11, and I just knew Monday through Friday I was going to prospect from 8 to 11. Eventually, I got it down to Monday through Thursday. And sometimes if I was behind on my goals, I might go in a Saturday morning. I then go on a listing appointment after if I was behind on my goals. So just set your schedule and stick to it. So you make one decision that you're going to prospect on these days and these times, and that's it. You don't have to decide again. I found that that's very effective, and quite honestly, the only way you're going to stick to your prospecting. Agents always ask, is mornings or nights better? Just do it in the morning, do it when you're fresh, get it out of the way, because if you're like me and every other top producing agent I know, if you let it hang over your head to the end of the day, you're going to be tired, dinner is going to be calling you, you're just going to want to relax, go to the gym, whatever, your kids are getting home from school, you're just not going to consistently get back to an afternoon prospecting session. If you want to mix it in, maybe the 3rd Thursday of every month, you do a night prospecting session. Like do something like that, but just prospect in the morning. Brian Tracy wrote a great book called Eat That Frog First. Eat that frog first. What I mean is, do the thing that you don't want to do first, get it out of the way, and that sets the tone for your entire day. 4th tip, get accountability partners, mastermind partners. It's essential to have people around you that are supporting you, that are on the same journey as you. So there's so many Facebook groups out there. You can find people maybe at your office, but I found if you go into Facebook groups, into communities, and find agents who are following like the same coaching, the same teaching as you versus just some random agents in your office that may or may not really be on the same path as you. Maybe they're doing open houses, but you're cold calling. Get people that match and are in alignment with the exact strategies and tactics that you're using to become successful in real estate or to get more successful. So what that could look like is you have, say, 3 to 5 mastermind partners. I found that no more than 5 and no less than 3 is ideal. And make sure that they're people that are committed just as you are. You're probably going to have to go through a few accountability groups to find the people that are really going to stick around and not flake out on you. You should be role-playing with these people. You should be having a once-a-week accountability call, and this is how you can structure that. So when you're role-playing, start at 7:45, 7:30 in the morning. I used to role play for 15 or 30 minutes. Early on, I would do 30 minutes, and then 15 minutes was kind of just more like a warm-up, kind of just to keep me, tuned up. And I would role play, and then I would start prospecting immediately at 8 o'clock. So 7:45 role play, 8 o'clock start calls. You just roll it right in. It's just, imagine if you're a professional athlete. Would you just show up if you're in the NFL and just start playing the game? No, there's like hours of warm-up, hours of visualization, hours of getting your mind right to perform at a high level. No different than real estate. In real estate, you can make $1 million a year prospecting. That's like being paid like a professional athlete. There's actually probably the majority of professional athletes, actors, actresses, they don't make $1 million a year, but yet you just want to show up, make a handful of phone calls, and expect to become wildly successful. It's not going to happen. You have to treat it like a professional. The other thing that you can do, which is really cool, when you're doing your weekly accountability calls, is do some pain versus pleasure with your accountability partners. And this is what I used to do. So most people, the vast majority of people, will move farther away from pain than they will towards pleasure. So you'll work harder not to lose say $5,000 in your bank account, $100 out of your pocket, you'll work harder not to lose that than you will to earn it. That's running away from pain versus running towards pleasure. It's interesting, right? That's just human psychology. So if you didn't make your, say, 10, 15 hours of prospecting that week, you would owe, say, $100, $500 to a charity that you completely disagree with. If you're a Republican, to the Democratic Party. If you're a Democrat, to the Republican Party. So not only are you paying out money, but it's also to a cause that you disagree with. It's kind of a double whammy. And I found that to be so effective and actually really fun. Another thing you could do is maybe, and I did this and I really enjoyed it, kind of gamified it. If my accountability partner at the time, if he only made 9 hours of calls and I made 10, I beat him by an hour. That 1 hour was worth $10, $100, whatever you choose. And that kind of makes it fun and makes it playful and really just makes the whole experience a lot more fun when you're doing this with other people. You're making it fun, you're making it a game. So those are my tips on how to get over prospecting. I promise you, if you implement them all or even half of them, there's a good chance you're going to throw away that fear and chase your dreams. And I promise you, if you don't implement anything, if you don't change anything, you're going to stay exactly where you are. And if exactly where you are is where you want to be, then great. But if it's not, I challenge you to make a change by using some of these strategies. As always, guys, it really helps me and it helps the real estate agent community in general by subscribing to this video, giving it a thumbs up, and leaving a comment if you so choose, because all that helps the YouTube algorithm, which pushes it out to more real estate agents. And I can promise you, there's a lot of agents just like you out there who have the same fear. I actually bet most of them have that same fear of cold calling. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will see you guys in the next one.